Today is October 7th, 2024, and I sadly have to report to you that it has now been 366 days since the October 7th attacks done by various militant groups via the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, including Hamas. This has started a more than year-long war against Hamas and the Gaza Strip that has unfortunately resulted in thousands being killed on both sides. And it has now been revealed that Iran is likely involved in the attacks and had planned October 7th since at least around 2022. And we also now know that, unfortunately, more than 1,200 civilians died that day, October 7th, and over 250 have been kidnapped into the Gaza Strip. And many of them were executed as hostages, even though dozens were freed, and there are still more than 90 being actively held hostage. So this is a very solemn date to land on. So I am going to continue to talk about this. And on that day, many Canadians died. There were not a huge number, but there were multiple Canadians that unfortunately had died, several of them. And it's tragic, but there were at least 8 Canadians died that day, and there were also, I heard, multiple Canadian hostages were also taken as well on this unfortunate day a year ago. I remember I was on the Switch, and I had my Switch in my bedroom. Now, I don't know if this is just something that I fabricated in my head accidentally, but I believe I remember staying up late that night and getting a breaking news notification at around 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time, so it was just about half an hour after midnight Eastern Time, that I heard that there were rockets fired from Palestinian territories towards Israel. And then that morning I had my Switch, and I remember I was on the Switch and I looked at YouTube, and the first thing I see is full special report: Israel declares war after surprise Hamas attack. And I just ran down the stairs and told my mama, my own mother, was the first person in my family that I told. And she was on, and we watched CBC Gem when the news still had some credibility, and it is very shocking. It's like how people remember what they were doing on 9/11. I remember I woke up that morning and my dad was working overtime, so he's working Saturday morning, and I just remember being absolutely shocked when I read the headlines that morning. And it was earlier on in the war, is about probably the first few hours of it being public knowledge. I remember the death tolls were under 100. I believe it was just in the dozens when that happened. And I remember I was on the Xbox that morning with the boys. We did get we had a good time that morning, but I remember one of my friends did already know what it is, but he's kind of like a historian, so he knows a lot about the military as well. Christians and Jews must come together, because this also is a Christian issue, and other moderate and progressive Muslims, a lot of them, do not agree with the attacks that happened on October 7th. It's mostly just the radicals, so we also have to keep that in mind. And I guess that's what I had to say that day. So, pray for peace and for justice for the dead victims of October 7th, and pray for the release of the more than 90 hostages, including multiple American hostages that are still being held inside the Strip. God bless you.